So this is a really good session to talk about what's going to make your conversations with MPs, with local councillors, really impactful and memorable, and make them want to then take action themselves to improve public policy. So when we talk about policy engagement, what is it that we mean, first of all? Well, really, policy is the decisions that government, that the NHS will make in terms of how they think we should be tackling different challenges or improvements. That's what policy is for. And though it's often made by government or local government or NHS, it's influenced by so many different other stakeholders who can help them see the big picture, help them see it from their point of view. So your input to this policy making process is really crucial. Without insights from you, without the stories that you've been sharing this morning, without them understanding those small changes that you talked about that are going to make a massive impact in your day-to-day lives and the lives of those that you're caring for, you know, the policy won't be right. It won't be as good and as robust as it can be. So it's really critical that we do everything we can to help you get your voices heard at a national level and at a local level. So you are all policy influencers. You're all already advocates. You know, just from listening to you, I've heard you talk about the conversations that you've had with your local GP, with your local councillors, with the council services. You are already fantastic advocates on behalf of your parent, your partner, your child, whoever it is that you're caring for. It might be slightly different taking those experiences and sharing them with a local councillor or an MP, but it's exactly the same principles. It's telling your story, it's asking for what you want, and it's doing that in a really impactful way. And I can tell already that you are going to be such a force to be reckoned with when you come to Parliament to launch that policy report. In preparing this session, I was thinking about the advocates that really inspire me, and there was one that really sprang to mind, you know, and it's a really beautiful example, I think, of how, you know, one person with an idea, one person with a really clear ask for how services could and should change, can have an amazing impact, not just at a national level, but frankly worldwide. And I'm sure many of you may have come across the story of Kate Granger. If you haven't, I've popped the name of her website on the slide here, and I'd encourage you to go and have a look. She was an absolutely inspirational woman. Kate Granger was a doctor, and she was diagnosed with an incredibly aggressive form of cancer. And she knew that it was a terminal condition. She lived with it for a number of years, and she had to have really quite, you know, distressing and difficult treatment in her time. And it was when she swapped from being a doctor to being a patient that she suddenly realized that some of that compassion that she'd always strived to give was missing. And it was little things, as you talked about, little things that really made a difference. It was someone coming in and saying, hello, my name is, before they went to, you know, unclip a bit of equipment or to change her treatment. You know, these were intimate processes that they were doing. And sometimes they were doing that without even saying hello and who they were. And the tweet that you can see in the middle of the slide there was her with the birth of the Hello, My Name Is campaign. It was started from a simple premise. Everyone coming into a room, meeting you, should just say, this is who I am. Say hello before they started the rest of the engagement. What a brilliant, simple, but amazing idea. So she started the campaign. She started it on social media with her and her husband. They designed a logo. And I expect you'll have seen it. You'll have seen it probably on people's badges if you've been into the NHS. Hopefully, when you have been engaging with services, people are now introducing themselves to you because it's a campaign that really caught fire. Kate and her husband Chris in their time met with lots of different parliamentarians. They met with Theresa May as Prime Minister, Kylie, celebrities. The whole thing really went national and then international. That map that you can see in the bottom right-hand corner is the number of different countries where there have been similar Hello, My Name Is campaign. And what a fantastic legacy to leave. But I think it is just one of those examples that really speaks to me. It says that you may be one person feeling small and one person feeling lost, but actually you are powerful, and there is so much that you can do when you get a groundswell of opinion behind you, when you get that support behind you to frankly change the world. So just an example for us to kind of think about. You all have incredibly powerful stories to share as well. I was also reflecting on the first time that I went into Parliament. We're planning, as David mentioned, for there to be a parliamentary launch of this new policy report, and we're hoping that lots of you will be able to come down to Parliament. We understand that you've got, caring responsibilities, you've got commitments, so it may not be possible for you all to be there, but hopefully some of you can make it. Cecilia, I don't know how you felt when you were in Parliament, but it's quite an amazing space. When you come to London, you see Parliament for the first time. It looks like it does on the telly. You walk inside, there's gold and enormous lobbies and architecture. Did you feel like that, Cecilia?
Just a big building with a load of children in it.
Well, there is that too.
I felt so proud.
I can relate to that last story that you was on about, because I am now in my 5th year remission from pancreatic cancer.
Wow. So
this is the year.
That's amazing.
I felt so proud and so privileged, because it was tides that got me there for the reasons why. And I felt I'm standing by a big glass window now, and I said what I needed to say, present to influence. And I'm so proud because I really felt my dad's spirit was with me, because my father was very political. And it was just a joy and a blessing, and I was heard and I was valued, and I was proud of being a former carer. It was an amazing experience, and valued. It was valued by the people in that room, and it still is, because it's still moving forward.
Yeah, that's so amazing to hear, Cecilia. I'm so pleased that you felt proud going into Westminster, because you should. And I really hope that every one of you who's able to go into Westminster feels the same. It's an amazing, awe-inspiring building, but it's our Parliament, maybe full of children, but it's ours. And you should be proud to be there, and proud to represent, yourself, represent, your family, represent Tide. It's an amazing thing to do. I mean, actually, only 4% of people ever go into the Parliament. So, it is a special thing to do in a special place. It has lots of kind of odd quirks, I would say. So, you may, I don't know if when you were there, Cecilia, if you heard the little bells going, but it's quite common when there's a vote going on in the Houses of Parliament, there'll be a little bell that will play. So you might be in the middle of your meeting with the MP having a really good conversation, and the bell will go and they'll say, "I'm really sorry, I have to go and vote." So you have to be slightly on your toes and ready for that to happen. But it's an incredible place to be, and I think if all of you go into Parliament feeling confident and inspired and proud, then you're going to have a really fantastic meeting. Sometimes people can feel kind of quite intimidated by going into Parliament, and whether that's Holyrood or Westminster or Cardiff or Stormont, it feels big and it can make us feel small. But I think the thing that came across to me really quickly was MPs are there to listen. They're there because they're interested. They've taken the meeting because they're interested in you. So the you're not going to get the grilling that a minister will get in front of the select committee. They're just going to want to hear your story and to find out what it is that they can do to help support you in that. So, and of course, before the pandemic, all of our engagement pretty much was in the Parliament. Now you might well be having a meeting with your MP on Zoom, just as we are doing today. I would actually say MPs are much more accessible almost post-pandemic because they're taking meetings by Zoom. So if you can't get down to Westminster on the day that Tide's launching the report, it doesn't mean that it wouldn't be a fantastic thing to see if you can't get a meeting with your MP, and either do that in a constituency survey or surgery, or just do it over Zoom. So yeah, I would encourage you to do that if you can.
We still do.
Yeah. I was thinking a little bit, just to sort of round up before we open for more discussion, about some of the factors that I think go into making engagement really impactful. And I think the first one is having a really clear goal for what you want from the campaign, but also from what you want from the meeting. So with Kate Granger, her goal was really clear. She wanted people to introduce themselves. It was really simple. The Front of Mind campaign sets out really clear goals for what it is that carers are saying is most important to you. And those are really important. And actually the goal for the meeting might be to just get the MP to commit to doing something to show their support for the Front of Mind campaign. We'll talk about it a bit later, but we're going to give you a toolkit, and that will have some suggestions for easy things that MPs can do to help support the campaign. But having that goal kind of front of mind is really important. Sometimes you'll go into a meeting and the MP the first question will be, what do you want me to do? So being able to say immediately, well, there are 3 things. I want you to do this, I want you to do that, and I want you to do this, and this is why. Having those really upfront, I think, can be a useful thing to have ready and prepared. I think also when you're influencing, you want to have really thought about who your target audience is. Now, it might be an MP, it might be a councillor, it might be someone working within the council. It's useful always to have done a little bit of research about them. For the local MPs, you can find out, for example, how they voted on particular issues. There's a website which you might know called They Work For You. If you put in dementia and your MP's name, or you put in Alzheimer's and your dementia's name, you'll be able to see whether that MP has spoken on the issue. You might find out that actually they've got a family member themselves, they've got some experience of caring, which might just mean that human to human, they already have a little bit more of an idea about the sorts of things that you might be coping with. So it's worth having a think, and we'll be able to help the Tide team in finding out some of that background for you, so that you know a little bit about them before you go into the meeting. I think the story is really important when you're trying to influence. So I try and think about this in 2 ways. What is it that I want the person to think? And what is it that I want them to do? And those are the 2 things that I'm trying to get across when I'm talking to them. So, do I want to change this person's mind on something? Do I want to get across the statistics and the impact? Do I want to tell a personal story? And then what do I want them to do about it? So thinking and doing. Personal experience is really important. When I worked for Cancer Research UK, every single parliamentary meeting that we had, we made sure that there were patients there, because the stories of patients, in this case the stories of carers and people that you're caring for, are the things that make a difference. So I don't need to talk to you about personal experience and why it's so important. Your stories are what will make this campaign rise and sing. Tenacity is a really key ingredient when you're trying to influence policy. I've heard a few of you say it this morning, you've had to fight for what you needed. You've not been able to get what you wanted. It's taken a long time. You've been banging your head against a brick wall. policy is a bit like a tanker. It takes a really, really long time to turn around, and sometimes it gets stuck. So by bringing together a network, I think it's really important, you know, you'll be able to celebrate the small wins that you have on the way to securing policy change, because it might take some time, but every single small win that you get, every time you get an MP doing something, every time you hear from an official that they're taking that forward, and you start to see your messages being reflected in policy, you're making a difference. So it's be tenacious and celebrate those successes. And then the final one is about relevance. So this is something where Tide, I think, can really help. Policy is being looked at all the time, and there are changes obviously at the moment with the health and care bill. There are changes happening in terms of how people are looking at health inequalities. By making our story relevant, by hooking it into the wider topics that are being debated and saying, this is great, this is how it could work to support people who are living with dementia, we'll be able to hook our story and piggyback it onto other people's. And that will, again, help us make sure that dementia patients, the carers of those who are living with dementia, can't possibly be forgotten. I think that was all I had in my slides. Oh no, I've got one more slide. This is a little quote that I love. And this is also just, you know, about making a difference. I love this quote from the Dalai Lama. I think sometimes as campaigners, as advocates, as influencers, we just need to be a little bit more mosquito, and occasionally we might need to give people a little bite, just to make sure that we are getting our messages cutting through.